Hi, I'm Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, and this is the fourth video in the Lake Hug knit along. Lake Hug is a sweater scarf that we have been knitting over the last month and a half, and some of you might be following along with this knit along as we do it, and some of you might be coming to these videos at another point as you are knitting Lake Hug. I've been having such a great time knitting Lake Hug with you all. You've been asking great questions, and I absolutely love doing a knit along with you whenever you join in. So as I said, this is the fourth video in the video tutorial series. And in this video, we are going to go over all of the finishing steps for Lake Hug. We'll be talking about the attached I-cord edging, whether you're going to do that with knitting needles or an I-cord tool. We're going to be talking about finishing, like blocking your Lake Hug, weaving in ends, that kind of thing. And then we're also going to talk about how to wear your Lake Hug, because I know a few of you are a little confused about how one wears a sweater scarf. So we'll do a little fun deep dive into that. So without further ado, I think it's important for me to tell you that everything we're going to cover in this video is on page 5 of the pattern. You will need to have purchased the pattern to follow along with this video. It is a companion video to the pattern. Everything I talk about, I will give you links to below in the video notes. So there's going to be some other videos I kind of throw to when we talk about provisional cast-ons and attached I-cord edgings. All of those links are below. So the first thing that I want to talk about with you is that attached I-cord edging. So let's start with that. All right, everyone, we are looking at page 5 of the pattern and talking about the attached I-cord edging. The attached I-cord edging goes all the way around the entire edge of your Lake Hug. It does not include the sleeves, but it goes around that entire edge where you worked Lola's pickup line all the way around the arms and center of your Lake Hug. This attached I-cord edging can be worked two ways. It can be worked with an I-cord tool, which is a tool that has 3 hooks on it. This is basically a miniature knitting machine in handheld form. If you don't know what an I-cord tool is and you want to learn more about one, I do have a separate video I'll link to below, all about it, how to do cast-ons, bind-offs, how to work with it. If you've never worked with one before and you decide to use it on your Lake Hug, I do suggest that you practice with it first. Practice doing the cast-on, practice working some I-cord, practice on some like just little swatches or gauge swatches you have lying around before you go to work with it on your Lake Hug. I think you'll be much less frustrated if you go and do that. The other thing you can do your attached I-cord with is knitting needles. And if you choose to use knitting needles, you'll be using needle D for either technique for slipping your stitches onto your needle, and then you'll be using one double pointed needle that's the same size that you use to get gauge for working your attached I-cord edging. And we'll talk a tiny bit more about that in a second. One thing I think it's very important for you to know is that your Lake Hug is going to look a little large when you finish working it. You might look at your Lake Hug and be like, wow, I could wrap this around my entire family. When you go to work this I-cord edging, it is designed to be worked just a little bit tightly to snug in around that edge of your Lake Hug so that it hugs your body beautifully. That is an intentional piece of this design. So don't be surprised if your measurements are looking longer or bigger than you think that they should be. This I-cord is going to pull things back together again a little bit. So what I wanted to do is look at the diagram with you that is on page 2, I believe, and just look at what the entire piece of your Lake Hug looks like and where you're going to start your I-cord edging. If you'll remember, you started in the center and then you worked one wing out and then you worked your second wing out. And you're going to start your I-cord edging right where the center joins with the wing. It doesn't actually matter if you start that with at the first wing point or at the second wing point, but this is a really nice spot to start and end at, because that little graft right there after you work your I-cord edging will just kind of get tucked right in at that corner. So you're going to want to start right there. If we look at that on this little lake hug that I made, you can see from this piece, it's got all of the stitch saver on it. And if I flip it over and we were to start right here up at that join, you'll see that, sorry, let's have the right side facing, because we want to have the right side facing when we're doing that. You're going to either start at this join right up here or at this spot right down here. And what you're going to start with is sliding all of those stitches that you have from working Lola's pickup line onto your needle. And you can either start down at this end where you have an open end, or if you don't mind cutting your stitch saver, you can actually start in the middle right there and cut your stitch saver. That's up to you. But what's awesome about Lola's pickup line is you'll put that stitch saver onto your needle, and then you'll just go ahead and you'll pull the stitch saver so that all of those stitches that were wrapped around the stitch saver are now on your needle and ready to work the attached I-cord edging. Now, you can work this attached I-cord edging either with double pointed needles or with the I-cord tool. There are separate videos to both of those techniques below. The pattern is written for working with the double pointed needles, because I think most of you are going to be working it that way. That has you casting on 4 stitches provisionally. I'll also link to my provisional cast on video for those of you who don't know how to do that. If that provisional cast on is a little bit tricksy for you, you are absolutely welcome to start with a closed cast on. I show both of those in the double pointed needle attached I-cord video. You can totally start with a closed cast on and then just sew together your last stitches with those first stitches, or you can work with the provisional cast on and then graft together the last stitches of your I-cord with the first stitches of your I-cord. That is completely up to you. If you are going to work with the I-cord tool, you are going to be provisionally casting on or closed casting on 3 stitches instead of 4 stitches. So that is the really big difference between working with the double pointed needle and working with the I-cord tool. As you work along these stitches, you are going to notice in the pattern that every other pair of stitches, you're going to be picking up 1 stitch right there and working that stitch. And that is because if you only worked the I-cord along all of those stitches without the pickup, this would get much too tight. So you want to make sure you're picking up a stitch that's written into the pattern, and I'll show you how to do that in the video. So without further ado, the next thing we want to talk about is how you are going to finish your lake hug, and then we'll talk about how to wear it. Okay, talking about finishing your lake hug is pretty easy. Once you are done working the attached I-cord edging all the way around and you have grafted the end of your I-cord to the beginning of your attached I-cord, your next step is to weave in all of your ends. If you have ends that are at the edge, which I think most of your ends except for that very beginning cast on thread are, sorry, yarn, are at the edge, you'll just be able to weave them in along the attached I-cord, which is a great place to bury them. I do not like to trim my ends until I am done blocking a piece, and that is because when you wet a piece and block it, oftentimes those ends can kind of worm their way out a little bit. So what you want to do after you have got all of your ends woven in but not trimmed is you will go ahead and take some warm water, not hot water, not cold water, and add a little bit of wool wash, whatever you love to use. I've been using soak lately. There's also unicorn Unicorn and UClan. There are a lot out there on the market. Go ahead and soak your lake hug in that warm water for a good 10 or 15 minutes until the fibers are really, really saturated. And then roll it up in a towel or two to get all of the moisture out of there. And then you're going to want to lay it out flat to dry. Now, lake hug is very long. So either you're going to need a lot of blocking mats laid out in a very long row, or maybe you have a guest mattress you can use. Maybe you have a rug in a spare room that doesn't have a cat that can get into it and love on your wet wool. I have one cat who does really love some wet wool when it's lying out somewhere. Stretch it out flat and lay it down to block. If you don't have enough room, you can fold it in half in the center and block it with a line at the fold at the very center, but you're probably going to want to steam that fold out afterwards. If you have a rolled up towel, you could put it right at the edge of that fold, kind of like this, or a pool noodle if you have a pool noodle. I know one of my testers loves to use pool noodles to simulate her arm in a sleeve. So if you have a pool noodle and it fits the sleeve of your lake hug, you could go ahead and slide that pool noodle in there to get that shape. I did not do that with mine. I just laid mine out flat to block it. I had a big enough space that I could lay it out flat without folding it in half. Once it is dry, then it is time to trim all of your ends. I have been known to forget that last step, and I still have some ends in a pair of large peds that I still haven't trimmed, even though they're totally woven in and been worn a fair amount. Shh, that's a secret. So once you have finished blocking it, woven all your ends, it is time to learn how to wear your lake hug, and let's talk about that in this next section. Okay, I have got 2 ways to show you how to wear lake hug. You can wear lake hug with the lake in the front, or you can wear lake hug with the lake in the back. So let's start with the lake in the front. The first thing that you want to do is slide your right arm into the sleeve, and then bring lake hug around your back, and then across your front, just like this. And you can kind of zhuzh it a little bit so that you're centered. And then you want to slide your left arm in and up. And then the trick here is to not be too ridiculous and start to just move it around. It's really hard when you're looking in the camera to do it correctly so that it is hugging your arms. And that is how you put it on with the lake in the front. I guess the next thing I should do is show you how to put the lake in the back. So first I'm going to take it off. Yay. Oh, I also figured out this like crazy way that you could like maybe wrap it around like that, and then it works like a sling. I call this like the Hunger Games maneuver where you have one arm. I'm not sure if anybody, are you guys going to end up wearing it like this? I don't know. It's kind of, all right. I bet some of you are going to want to have the lake in the back because you like to have your party in the back. So the way to wear your lake hug with the lake in the back is have the wrong side facing you and the right side facing out, and then slide your right arm into one sleeve, and then take your lake hug, wrap it across your front and then over your left shoulder. And bear with me when I look in a camera, it's so hard. And then over your right shoulder, and then back into your left sleeve. And then you'll kind of manipulate it and move it so that you like the way that it's draping. One thing that I would tell you all about wearing your lake hug is as you go about your day or your evening, your fabric is going to move on your body. And you might be tempted to spend like a half hour in front of the mirror kind of futzing and playing and trying to get all your folds just right. It's not worth it. It always looks the best on me the first time I put it on, when I don't think about it too much and I don't get all futzy in front of the mirror. So trust me on that one. Get it on and go and enjoy your day. I am so excited to see your lake hugs, so make sure that you tag me when you finish them and take pictures of yourself. I can't wait to see them on you. Thank you so much for knitting Lake Hug with me. As always, if you have any questions about knitting your Lake Hug at any point, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video, over in the thread that I have set up in our Ravelry group, or over in the Facebook group. The one thing I would ask is that you don't ask the same question in all three places, because I really do try to answer everybody's questions, and it ends up just making more work for me, and I like to get some knitting done too in my day. So ask questions. I'm always here. I'm checking in every day. Thank you so much for trusting me and joining me on this knitting adventure. Make sure that you follow my channel for future knit alongs. I've got some good things up to my sleeves and I can't wait to share them with you. Happy knitting!